Well, hello, I'm alone in Finland. This is a Space Engineers playthrough. It's quite a heavily modded one, and it's more to do with this sort of survival and harvesting sort of elements of it. Not so much combat or things like that, although we do have a lot of beacons that were not there the last time that I came into this game, so that's interesting. So, to explain what's going on here, a friend of mine made a mod. He didn't make, he compiled some stuff, as it was said to me. And just as an interesting start. So I don't quite know what's going on. What is with all of the... Damn, that is a lot of beacons. That is a lot of beacons. Okay. So we have a little room. Do we have a control panel? Yes. Oh, we have an incomplete refinery. And some interesting stuff. Right, so... Another bedroom. Another kazi. We are underground. We have no oxygen, but we do have planetary gravity. 0.9. 0.9 is, I'm assuming it's Mars. We are quite severely underground. Anything in any of these places? No. Oops. There we go. What's this? Oh. Okay, so we have some power. Seems to be the little engineering room. Oh! An empty bottle. Do I have anything on my toolbar? No. And nothing in here. Okay, so where are we at? So he has actually told me some of the stuff that's in this. He put it in a list. I've not actually seen what it is. But I'll put the links down below in the description for YouTube. Okay, so what do we have? We have connectors. Show me cargo. 4,000. That's multiple size.
So I'm just going to jump in here over the top and sort of explain a little bit about what's going on, because I was a little overwhelmed with everything because I hadn't seen this at all before. And essentially what's happened is a friend of mine gave me this this sort of game world to start a survival setting in, and I didn't know at the time, but it was a mismatch of a couple of different things. So a few different mods that I've used, a few different mods that I haven't used, and then this particular base section, which has been built in its own game world by vomsay. So that's vomsay on the workshop, VOMSAY. The game world, the base game world is Rusty World. However, I believe, from what I understand, this was built on 0.01 of his Rusty World, and he's now updated it, but he's also removed the previous versions. So it's what I was using as a base template, or what I was given as a base template, isn't available. However, there is also a secondary one that's been put into this.
We don't have a sequencer.
Let me see if I can bring it up in my information. There we go. So the second one is Spaceport Telerin, which I don't see immediately on this. As you can see, I'm sort of running around and trying to figure out what's going on here. And I've been given some lovely little things, a nice little truck. But the entire point of this is to sort of explore the world, and then occasionally the save file I'll give the save file back to my mate, who's gonna add a few things here and there. He's done this in the past, and some of the things he's added to different worlds that I've played in have been hysterical. But I'm now at a point where I can sort of do the recordings and things like this, so this was the idea to get this started. If anybody sort of sees this, I had a previous channel that was just some messing about with Kerbal Space Program and some general stuff from life. But I decided to sort of make this a dedicated gaming channel, and that's where we're going from here. So, as you can see in front of you, I'm not doing well with the chat in this one, so I'll put this over the top. But I've seen that we've got a life support mod in that I quite like, so I am just immediately scrapping some stuff because that elevator didn't seem to work. And I'm going to use that to build a little bit of life support here. So I'm just grinding all the materials off, and we're just going to go through and look at the daily need survival mod. I'm trying to get the main block in place, which is one of the synthesizers, and then a little hydroponic setup, so that will allow me to, the synthesizer will allow me to refine ice directly into water, which is one of the first things you need and one of the fastest things that is consumed in this particular mod. And then after, so that's the food resequencer, the synthesizer, food resequencer is its proper name. And then we'll be able to spend a bit of time and try and figure out some synth food and things like that. I don't know how much is in the game. Some of it is dropped by the little irregular sort of supply drops, but at this moment in time I don't know what's going on. I'm going to continue this voiceover for a little bit more as we go through this, just because I've noticed that the audio quality is ridiculously quiet. Unfortunately, my son likes playing with the microphone in my computer, so sometimes I don't notice it before I start playing, and I'll just play away. So I'll speed through this next little bit in front of us. Basically, I know that I'm about to start taking damage because we are running so low on elements. I know they're not at the screen, they're normally at the top left. But the way that it cut this screen, because it was broadcasting on Twitch as well, is sort of an issue for this particular recording. You'll see those perspectives change because of the way that my screen's set up. So we've managed to get the food resequencer set up, and then we are trying to get the other section, our lovely hydroponic setup. So we are now at the point where I need a little bit more materials, so I'm going to go and search the base, or slope back down so you can sort of see what's going on here. We have a ship outside. There's a nice little thing, part of the mod. I didn't play with it too much at the beginning, just because I was sort of dying essentially. We've got a little bit of water going, but I'm just having a check through and seeing what systems are there. Then we get to the little system next to it, this little skiff. So it's essentially this sort of palletized cargo mover, which I think is a fantastic design. And I have since learned that it's actually in the Telleran spaceport. So I don't know if he left it there deliberately or if it got moved across when he was doing stuff, but it's a fantastic little thing. So those are the sort of ships that are around about the area, which are kind of interesting to look at. But then we have a little scan about. So you can see that I've got some hydrogen tanks sat there, and the way that this stuff has been put around it is quite interesting. So we've got sort of scaffold, and it looks like it's been made out of solar panels as well. As you can see there, it's been sort of pasted slightly odd and it's off the ground. But then you've got sections back here which are sort of, they've built up the ground around about them. It's quite interesting. And then I noticed the cargo doors for the first time. So we've got hinged doors for a hangar, a little vehicle next to it, and then we have a few little things around about where there are sort of bays for things. It's quite an interesting setup. Your man Vomsay is very talented at what he's put together. All of this in a sort of rusty survival setting aesthetic. However, his main I've forgotten what you call it. His main sort of base is actually on Pertam, and this is on Mars. So my mate sort of pasted this in and built it up where it needs to be. And then we come to this, which it sounds really stupid, but it's one of my favourite things. It is a light. Nice and simple. It's a battery with some lights, but it looks great. And I'm not entirely sure which sort of save this comes from. So this could be from Aitero's Tellerin, or it could be from vomsay's sort of pasted in thing. I'm not entirely sure, but it is fantastic. I'm sorry, I don't know who's in this. I haven't gone through most of their stuff because I've been playing this. This was the first time I saw it in this. I've been playing it for a while. So we have this sort of... Oh, this is another sort of interesting part of it, because of the way that my mate's pasted it in. Some of it is still submerged in the rocks, so there's a bit more exploration to have a look around. But I essentially have a look around and explore quite a chunk of the base to figure out what's going on. And as you can see here, even clearing out some of the rubble, we have gotten back down to the base level into a section I was in before that didn't realise there was something behind it.
Okay.
So I'm actually back, almost right back at the start.
Wait a minute, what's that? I'm right back at the beginning. Okay. So there is another way out that way. Good to know. Let's go this way.
As you could hear, I got quite confused with it all, and there we go. So there is a lot in this, and we'll sort of go through it. You'll see it as we're going. I don't think there's too much sort of needing to be seen, but there is these interesting crates and things around about. A lot of this is more rusted than it should be, because there is an actual rusting mod in this. That is the Rust Mechanics by, I believe it's Baculus? I'm not entirely sure. I'm dyslexic as hell, so reading that's not easy. But I'll put a link to it down in the description below if you want to go and have a look at it. The Rust Mechanics is very interesting, and it slowly sort of degrades things over time, which I quite enjoy. And it also means there's a little bit of urgency in restoring things, especially the higher level the oxygen, the more things rust. So it is implemented at the moment on Mars where I am, but it's not as bad as it could or will be later on. But it also means that space is a good place to save and store stuff, and it brings sort of air tightness and things like that into, not just into the normal game for breathing, but also for maintaining ships and things like that, with smaller grids taking sort of more severe damage because of the lack of components in them. So we make our way back and start doing a little bit of more building to get this hydroponics bay up and running. Obviously keeping up with our survival or health or hydrogen and things like that. There is some modifications on this I've since learned to do with the amount of hydrogen and oxygen we've got. Hydrogen is less in the suit, but the amount in the bottles sort of is compensated. I believe it's a modification of one of Splitsy's mods. So the mod is in there to sort of make things a little bit more difficult, but it's not when it comes to the bottles, it's not as severe as it was originally. So after a bit of time messing about with our food and getting some food and water so that we can actually survive, it is time to get into the truck and get out there. So I shall switch back to the normal narration, which seems to have gotten better at this point. Or at least it will get better after I stop messing about with the screen, and I'm trying to adjust everything down because that blue and white doesn't work for my eyes. So I quite like having a different default and shifting it to orange. So I just go through that, and then on we go.
Aha. What the hell? Right as I get started, seriously? Wait. What the hell just happened? Did that... I got... I have no idea what the hell's just happened. Is that dead? It's dead. And there's ice, but how? I am so confused. Also, nope. Oh. Is it? Oh, it turns off. That's the one. So, within half an hour of starting, I've been attacked. There is beacons everywhere. Damn, that's a lot of beacons. Right. I've lost what I need to do. So, right, let's just kill those for a second. That's done. It's just this one that needs this thing. Food protein resequencer. We are gonna jump in some ice. Production. Couple of thousand. Synth food. Yeah, we'll do that first. Space bars, my favourite. Soil, organics, gravel and drinking water. Ooh, let's put some tofu first. Right, so I can leave that to sort itself out while I figure out what the hell just happened. This does not have an antenna. So let's take a little trucker over to whatever the hell just happened and try and figure it out. Spiders, I think. I'm not entirely sure.
So at this point we are several weeks and quite a few hours of playtime through this, and I still have no idea what the hell happened there, where that came from. When I spoke to my mate about it, he was like, yeah, I don't know, I haven't seen that. So I don't know if this was a ship that came in from the base configuration or something from a mod. I have no idea. But it gives us a couple of good components straight off the bat, which is nice. It's just, I have no idea what is going on. At this point in the game, all of the mods were geared around sort of rusty things and salvaging and stuff like this. There was a few combat mods, but they all had that same that rusty salvage style to them. So the fact that this is entirely clean, it makes no sense whatsoever. So we get everything, or we get a full load between myself and the trailer. As you can see, I can dump nothing else, the truck, sorry, and we head back to the base to do a little bit of unloading. This just gives us, it saves us hydrogen, because although I use it in little bursts, I'm not using much as opposed to flying all the way back to the base. And at this point I was quite aware that the hydrogen was running out faster. It was quite visible, so we want to get things in and out, and as efficient as possible because I don't know how much I've got or how much is available, especially when it comes to ice and harvesting and things like that. Being on Mars, but not having a normal ore map compared to any other game, which is something I'll sort of explain or touch on later. So we go through quickly. I get everything unloaded and try to sort out, and I'm essentially, as you can see, I'm jumping back to this because I'm trying to get food produced as fast as possible. This is one of the big issues. I really don't want to die. I don't want to have any excessive deaths in this. There will be some because it's space engineers. It's second to only Kerbal Space Program for deaths, but that's kind of my idea. So as you can see here, I'm having a bit more of a look around and trying to figure out the base and where I am and what the layout is. Let's get to old amnesia start. As you can see there on the left, I've got a couple of big cargo containers. There's a refinery just down there, which I didn't actually see at all until a while later. And then we have some solar panels which were not on the floor originally, but that little impact, that little attack in the beginning knocked a lot of stuff out of whack. And from what I understand of it later on, it entirely destroyed some stuff that I should have had. So fun and games, but that's the joy of the game. It's quite unexpected, especially when somebody else sets up a scenario for you. I highly sort of recommend going on to the Steam Workshop and grabbing other people's scenarios, or if you and a mate play Space Engineers, build scenarios for each other. Because it's quite a fun thing to go through these. It really makes the game, gives the game a lot more playability and a lot more fun, which is quite impressive for something that's already quite a fun game. So we get some solar panels put back up, just one or two for the moment, and we have a little runabout, essentially because my brain is in what I call ADHD lock. I can't quite figure out an order or process of things, so I sort of get locked back into doing the same loop. So I'm checking food, I'm looking around about the base and sort of going, oh, what's here? And then it all locks into place, and I realise I need to get ore, and there isn't an ore detector on the station from what I can tell, so I have to use the actual the little buggy as an ore detector. But this playthrough has the deeper ores mod on, amongst some of the other stuff. So one of the things that crops up quite fast is that I do see ore, and I see ice just down here right next to the base, which is useful. So I do my usual sort of thing where I sort of skin out an area of ore and clear off the stuff from the top of it. I want to get a sort of vague idea how much there is there, and mine around about it, so that when I mine it, it's a little bit more pure, there's a little less stone in the area. But I can see that there's a decent amount, so that'll keep me going on ice for a while. So after we get the first ice, I basically entered another ADHD lock, and I couldn't quite figure out what I was doing. And as I've gotten through this video, it becomes even more apparent to me how bad I am, because I'm sort of going between harvesting and not doing anything, and I essentially harvested maybe 6 or 7 loads of ice over the course of the next 45 minutes, which is not anything at all for anybody that knows the game. So I've sort of skimmed over a lot of that, because most of it was me just going, I don't quite know what I'm doing. And then I came up with this idea of drilling down beneath the ice, clearing out a patch there because I want to build some stuff after a while, and then drilling a smooth manner to get back up, and as you can see, dropping some stuff into the hole as we're going. One of the things that, looking back at it, has kind of annoyed me about it is because I wasn't harvesting the stone, I was just clearing stuff out, whereas if I'd harvested, I could have got some more materials and things. But then where we're going to finish up today is what I did at the end. So I brought out our buggy and I decided to go for another little explore this time. This time I had a target in mind and sort of cleared my lock. So I decided to head over to one of the beacons, because it looks like we have an active sort of market system in the game, an economy. So I've never used this before. It's been in the game for years, but I just haven't ever touched it. So I was kind of curious about this. So where I am going to leave you
There is a sneaky little
is
button.
heading over to this beacon and pulling
it's
up
a
at the
safe
station
beacon.
for the first time, because I've never seen anything like this. Most people will be familiar, but I'm not.
Because I've never
So,
actually done
if you enjoyed this, thanks for watching. If you didn't, stick with us for the next episode. I know this was kind of a boring start, but honestly, my brain was kind of locked up, and there is some big explosions and some bigger buildings coming in later episodes. At the moment, I've sort of recorded 4 or 5, and it's just trying to get the time to get them down. But I'm getting there, and some of the stuff is just impressive. So, hopefully we'll get to the other station in this build by the next video. Thanks for watching again. Like, subscribe. It's always nice to know that somebody's watching and interested in it. And if not, don't be too cruel in the comments. I can take a fair bit, but be nice. Thank you. Bye.